It feels like that, it feels like one of your kids, as I think of my kids, from it felt like Johnny, and to watch it each year and to see him mature and grow. And then, with him and Meredith here, obviously he didn't have the kids until he left, but
Yeah.
just even when you talk to him, it was a different, the way he talked. I think at the end he joked with me one day, he's like, just call me John, even though he wasn't here at the end, to go out the first day. And, there was the little memorial on just the middle of the one step. And then every day I got to go out and, it was emotional every day to read the little notes and to see, you know, what he meant to people. Geez, it's tough, because I thought I was doing interviews pretty well yesterday, but just to know he's not going to be here, he's not, even if he's on a different team coming in, to be able to go out and say hi.
Who is Johnny to you?
I think Johnny, he's just a good friend. Really, I think it's weird because I know I'm in management and I'm on the other side.
Yeah.
But
So how do you become friend? Because there's obviously a generational gap, Craig, but at the same time, like you're the man, you're kind of the established, your management, your office, where, he's still in the room. So where does that relationship come from then, as you guys become good friends?
well, I think, it started, we had the same agent. So, that kind of, and it's just anything, and with him coming to Calgary, coming to a new country, coming to a new city, my thing was, I'm American also. Like anything you need, it's a great city. You need help with anything, Lewis, call me. Johnny can call me day or night. If apartments, he needs, I got him a car deal early on, help him with apartments, help him
working
with,
all the angles,
make sure he's paying his
Yeah.
rent. He did have a hard time figuring out the taxes, because I'm like, did you send Lewis the taxes? All you have to do is send it to him, Johnny. And every year it would install. He's like, no, I haven't been giving them. I'm like, really? I go down. I'm like, John, the taxes are right here. They're just sitting in his name tag. They're just kind of pinned in there so he can see them. I'm like, do you mind if I take them? I'm going to send them to Lewis. We'll get it all done. So, if he needed to have, he'd call and say, Craig, Meredith and I are going on a, whether it's the All-Star game, would you be able to take Bailey? That's their dog at the time. For sure. I think, so we just had that kind of relationship. And, for sure, there was times when we're separate and there's hockey and there's management and you're on different sides, but he knew if there was anything he ever needed, I was going to be there for him, and vice versa. If I needed to talk to him, or, he didn't always listen to me when I'd go down to the bench and say, can you shoot the puck a little more? I'd have to wait for his dad to come in and say, Gee, can you tell Johnny to shoot the puck just a little bit more? And he'd be like, okay. And Johnny would listen to Guy, but he wouldn't always listen to me. So, that was the relationship. And I think to see him kind of grow from a young guy that's just excited, just wants to play hockey, to kind of the man meeting Meredith, just to see, like when you have kids, how they get older and mature. I mean, to be with Johnny from 2011, and the 9 years that he played here was just special. And you get that bond, and, it's more than just, management player. It's just being friends.
Connie, maybe touch on a little bit, like obviously you were pretty close, or very close with the family. I only met Johnny a couple times, like throughout when I was in and out of Calgary or whatever, so I can't say like that I knew him at all. But maybe just touch on like, how close he was with his family, and maybe especially his brother, Matthew.
I think it's hard to put into words. I know I don't have any brothers. I mean, I only had teammates. I'm an only child. So for that special bond, but even the day we picked them up in Philly, we couldn't find them after the game. BC had just lost the Frozen Four. We're looking everywhere for them. And to see the two of them come walking up together. And, I know after he came and went back to school, he was staying in the room in the summer, taking summer classes with his brother, and they shared a room. And really, there's a story. I think Johnny actually let Matthew pick where they were going to go to college. Lewis has told me that story before.
Oh, really?
That they were kind of together, and Johnny said, "Where do you want to go?" They had a bunch of teams they could pick from. And Matthew said, "You're the older brother, you pick." And he goes, no, just pick. I'm good with anywhere. So then he picked BC, and the way they went, and and to be able to play 1 year together, that was the thing that scared me the most about. Wasn't that Johnny didn't want to sign in Calgary when we went to get him. It was that he wanted to play with his brother again, and how much fun he had that year, his junior year, playing with Matthew. And they were the best of friends, and they were and really it's both their sisters and their mom and dad. It's extremely close family. I mean, they I know every family's close, but when I think back just how tight the family is, I'm just devastated for them.
Yeah. Professionally, what do you think about what's the highlight for Johnny in your mind? Is it the Game 7 overtime winner? Is that the one that stands out, or is there something that hasn't come out or that we haven't seen that you think about him where you're like, wow, that was special?
I mean, there was so many moments where I just felt so happy to be in the arena. The end-to-end rushes, we needed a big goal. He found a way to score them. The whole line, I thought maybe, if not the best line, right there at the top of with Lindholm and Kachuk that year with 115 points. Definitely the goal in overtime against. That is I remember jumping out of my seat thinking, wow, that's going to be there.
Right?
Yeah,
shot that one.
He shot that one.
Shot it.
He sure did. He sure did. You know what? He had a very good shot. I mean, he didn't like to shoot. He loved to pass, but he had a very good. He scored 40 goals that year. People, always think of him as a passer, but it was amazing to kind of sit and watch. He could pick a corner like nobody else. He kind of got in this one zone. I said, "Oh, this is a scoring area for Johnny," and he gets in that and. And then to see him come off, and Monty was hurt, and I know their relationship, they're like brothers. And to see those guys hug after, that was just a great feeling. By the time I got down there, the celebration was on, and it was, that's going to always be a moment. But even to come in and see him score his first goal in Vancouver, it was a tip. And the night before, we were sitting on the plane, and I was looking at him thinking, this is the future of the Calgary Flames. This is going to be our next star. And you're questioning in your mind, how's this going to work out? He's not a big man, but, they go into that first game and score. I'm like, oh, okay. The hype's out there, and it's a great start. It was a great start. And to see him mature and just always an all-star, always do all the stuff and just having fun with it all the time.
When you look at, and that's the crazy thing, that he scores in his first ever game, right? You guys bring him up at the end of the season, and he gets that little taste and sets the bar so high. But you look at the journey in Calgary where, he really does grow up from a boy to a man, right? And you talk about that journey, and you see the peaks and valleys where there's a couple of dips during that time, and then he's explodes the big season. And then how things ultimately end in Calgary, and there's obviously this shock and disappointment and anger, but you look through all of that, and despite the peaks and valleys along the journey, the outpouring of love and emotion and we know how Canadian markets can certainly be, the good, the bad, the downright funky. It's remarkable to see just how much empathy and love we're really seeing, in a market that kind of had, some real polarizing periods, right? With the love and the heartbreak, and to see how that goes. But to kind of watch him to go from boy from men, that sort of journey, to kind of see it all, that's gotta, not to say that you're a big brother, but almost like a parental figure. It's got to be, Craig, to kind of see someone growing up, and they kind of have to find their way a little bit too, right?
It feels like that, it feels like one of your kids, as I think of my kids, it felt like Johnny, and to watch it each year and to see him mature and grow. And then, with him and Meredith here, obviously he didn't have the kids until he left, but just even when you talk to him, it was the way he talked. I think at the end, he joked with me one day, he's like, just call me John. So I was like, okay, John, And then I'm like, it was hard for me though, because I was like, always call him Johnny, but I know he liked to be called John, but I'd say, Johnny. He's like, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. He's like, I know. He goes, you can't get it. Just forget about it. So, but I could tell as he was getting older, he did like to be called John towards the end, and everyone still called him Johnny, and he was a good sport about it. But, like, I was like, oh, I got to remember just call him John. But to see all that and to just, it was special, and I think even though he wasn't here at the end, to go out the first day and, there was the little memorial on just the middle of the one step. And then every day I got to go out and, it was emotional every day to read the little notes and to see, what he meant to people. It's tough, because I thought I was doing interviews pretty well yesterday, but, to see all
the most, Craig.
Just to know he's not going to be here, he's not, even if he's on a different team coming in, to be able to go out and say hi, to ask about the family, to know the Gaudreaus. I mean, that's the hard part. It's the reality of it. It still doesn't even feel real. When we go into Philly, that it's going to be hard. I mean, it's hard every day. It's harder when you're alone than when you're with people.
Yeah.
You think about all the times you're with him, and it is, it's special. And then to know how he touched so many people here in Calgary. And I talked to people and they never met him, but he meant so much to them. I mean, and I did get to meet him, and I got to see him every day, and I got to joke around with him and tease him, and, he give me grief back. And, that's the hard part, and you just, I don't even know. I can't even put it into words really how much we miss him already.
Yeah, it's sad for sure. I'm in Arizona right now. And like I said, I didn't even really know John, and I knew you were tight with him, but it's amazing the amount of text message that even I've got. And I've watched, what you said around the Saddle Dome and how that's grown. And I've been getting text messages from people people in Calgary that I haven't heard from in a while that, like, it legitimately affected them, and they went to they need closure of some kind or whatever. And it's incredible. And
it's
obviously very sad, but
it just says it's amazing city here. I mean, I think how much they love, they love the team, but they love the people. They love the players. Even if you're not still here, they all have a story. They all have something, a memory or something. If it was a game, they never met Johnny. Some people have, and how he reached out in hard times. The one thing he always gave back. I mean, he prided himself on going out, doing things for the community, being a part of this community, and he loved it. And his parents were the same way. I think when they came, they were like rock stars. They really were. I mentioned that before, but I used to feel like they came to watch their son play, and they're doing interviews, and they're doing but they embraced it too. And, and that's what made the Gaudreau family special to the city of Calgary.